Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to cover the transcription client, how it works, some various settings that you may not be aware of, and how it's going to assist you most efficiently in your transcription workflow. Let's get started. When you install WebChartMD, you'll notice that you receive two icons. One is the WebChartMD portal, and the other one is the WebChartMD transcribe. The transcribe is where all the transcription occurs inside the system, where the portal is mainly used for a transcriptionist purposes to review previously transcribed reports as well as to run a line count report for yourself. In this video, we're just going to be talking about the WebChartMD transcribe portion. To get started, just double-click your icon on your desktop and you'll be presented with the WebChartMD login box here. It's going to prompt for a username and password, and this is the same username and password that you'll use to log into the portal. Let's log in with a test account. One additional thing to mention, or actually two additional things to mention, is this application has a auto updater installed as a service in the computer. So whenever a new update is pushed out, there's no need to install that update. It's going to do it for you automatically. So if you notice this version number changing here in the bottom left-hand corner, that's just because we've released an update to the transcription client and it has successfully installed. Additionally, you'll notice throughout this training, and I'm going to be doing mostly keyboard work throughout this, you'll notice that these buttons, such as login here, is highlighted sort of blue. It's got a blue highlightation around it. Anytime you see that, that means you can press the Enter key and it's going to select that button. So for example, I could click Login, but I'm just going to hit Enter to go ahead and log in to the transcription client now. The first time you log in, it's going to take a little bit longer than the preceding times. And the reason for that is it's just grabbing updated templates and things from the database, if any of them have been updated. Now you'll notice when I log in, I actually receive a pop-up bubble here in my bottom right-hand corner from my WebChartMD icon in my task tray. This pop-up bubble simply alerts me to how many non-transcribed items I have, as well as any stat items I have. If you do QA as well, it'll also briefly let you know how many QA items that need your attention at this time. Please note that QA is not done from the transcription client, but is instead done from the portal. We have a separate video on that if interested. Okay, now I have my work queue that's popped up here. As you can see, I have all my files listed. These actually stack in order of turnaround time, so my top one is actually the one that I need to do first, and it's highlighted in orange for me, as you can see here. I just briefly want to touch on these columns really quick. The first one is the DID column, by far one of the most important columns in the WebChartMD system. It simply stands for dictation identification. Every audio file that comes into the system is assigned a unique number, and once you transcribe that audio, the transcription will retain that number as it moves through the WebChartMD system. Dictated time is simply the time that the file was dictated. Uploaded is when the file was uploaded to the system. These will be the same if your doctors dictate via phone, but if they dictate via recorder, then they could be different. Please note that your turnaround time is based off the time it was received in WebChartMD. The practice for where the file was dictated, the file name, which we'll go over a little later in the training, the provider name or the dictator name, in this case Dr. Jimmy Arnold, and the priority on the file. As you can see, they all say standard, which means whatever the standard turnaround time is set for this particular physician in the system. So if that's 24 hours, it's 24 hours. If you have it set to 48, then it'll be 48. Any other specific time, such as 1, 2, 4, 6, or 8 hour stat, will actually display that right here, the number and then dash stat beside of it, so you know it's a priority job. The duration of the file, and then as you can see here, we have template, first, last, medical record number. These items right here will all show up blank like these files you see below, unless you're actually receiving an ADT feed from the healthcare facility or another transcriptionist started transcribing this job and was simply unable to finish it. You'll actually see this information populate. Otherwise, it will be blank, and I'll show you how to fill that in just a second. Location is used if you're servicing a large healthcare facility and they maybe have multiple office locations. If they're set up that way inside WebChartMD, then please ask your transcription company if you should use the location field. I'll show you what it looks like in just a few moments. And then VR status you can ignore. You're not going to need that. These columns are all movable as well as resizable, as you can see here. If I need to stretch out that file name, or excuse me, the provider name, I can, or the file name column. I can also move these columns around, so maybe I want my file name beside my DID. So you're more than welcome to do that, and the next time that you log into the transcription client, these columns will be in the same order that you have them set. If you do not wish to return to this work queue each and every time, but instead would just like your next file automatically loaded into your player so you can begin the transcription, since these files are coming in order of turnaround time, then there is a setting that you can set that will actually do that, and I'm going to do that now and actually show you. If you right-click on your WebChartMD icon in your task tray and go to Settings, we'll minimize our work queue for the time being. You notice a Settings panel pops up on screen. The two settings areas that you should be interested in at this point is the Associate Next Dictation and Auto Show Associate. If you have both of these selected to yes, this will automatically associate your next job in line for you and will prevent you from coming back to your work queue. I'll show you a way that you can get back to your work queue at any point in time after a transcription is finished. If in fact you decide to set these to yes. So I'm going to leave mine set to yes. By default they're set to no. I'm just going to click Save. I'll pull up my work queue. Before we actually begin starting some transcription, or just a couple troubleshooting steps to mention. If in fact your toolbar begins to look like this at any point in time, meaning that you have all this additional white space in the way, all you need to do is come and click one of the corners and drag it up, so that way you can resize your bar. Also, if you accidentally hit the maximize button, you can just click it again to restore it back to its original size. Okay, let's get started. Notice how Associated is highlighted in blue. At this point in time, that means I can hit my Enter key, and that's going to automatically associate this first job for me. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Enter this time to go ahead and associate this first job. When I do, you'll notice that the file name populates here in the toolbar, as well as the DID number. So I have that listed right up here in front of me. I also have a document properties box that was prompted to me from WebChartMD, my Express Scribe, which now has my audio loaded in my player, and my version of Word that's opened up here behind me. Please note that this is your version of Word. This is not a look-alike or web-based version of Word that WebChartMD is sending to you, but it's the actual Word version on your computer. So if you're used to typing in Word 2010, that's going to be what you're going to see. If you have any hotkeys, macros, short text that either you have built into Word or inside an application that works with Word, then it's going to work with WebChartMD as well. Okay, let me direct your attention here to our document properties field. Notice how it's asking for a few different things in these fields: the template, the patient information, date of visit or date of service, the location, if you're typing, as I said, for a large healthcare facility that has multiple locations registered in WebChartMD, an attending field, and a CC physician field. And then, of course, there's a couple of other little boxes here that we'll go over in just a second. At this point in time, though, I'm actually tapping my foot pedal and listening to this audio and grabbing what template that I need to do. So, for example, if I know this is an office note, I can just start typing O, and notice how office note populates right here in front of me. However, if I think it's a letter, or if the physician says this is a letter, for example, I can type L, and I know it's a letter, and letter is going to pop up as a template right here in front of me. These are pre-built templates. that we actually can load inside the WebChartMD application. It'll save you from adding a bunch of header information as well as the various sections maybe of the note itself. And we can also pre-populate patient information, dates, signatures, etc. inside that template automatically and prevent you from having to do that. However, if you're used to typing on a blank template and you want to simply copy and paste your template into that blank template, then that's totally fine as well. You may just have to end up typing the patient information twice inside that template. If I'm unsure of which templates are available to me, I can simply click the drop down here and actually see what templates are available. So discharge summary is right there. And then I can use my up and down arrow keys to sort of go through those templates. So let's just say that this is initial eval at this point. Once I have my template, I can hit Tab on my keyboard to go to my next field, which is the patient field in this case. Once again, I'm still listening to my audio to get this information. If they say the last name of the patient is Mitchell, then I can simply type Mitchell in there. I can hold Control on my keyboard and hit F, as in find, if you will, and see my patients list that has been transcribed on before. So all of these Nathan Mitchell patients that you see here have been transcribed on before, either as me as the MT or another MT who types for this account. If there's no patient available, then this is what you'll see. You actually won't see anything in this patient field here. And we'll need to add that patient, which is no problem whatsoever. To add a patient, simply hit the tab on your keyboard and notice how this ... button actually illuminates here in blue on screen for us. Hitting enter will allow me to access that. And this, as you can see when I do that, is an add patient box. So for any patient that has not been typed on before and I can't find them from my previously transcribed list, I can simply just add that patient. Maybe this is John Smith. And I'm only going to enter the information that is pertinent, so or that I have, I should say. So if the physician doesn't provide a middle name or a medical record number in the dictation, I can leave those blank. However, if they do, then I'm simply going to type that information in and click Save. Once I do, you'll notice that the patient that I just created actually loaded right here into the patient field. Now, the next time John Smith is available for transcription, I'll be able to find him either by his last name or the medical record number. You can also type in the medical record number, hit the Control F on the keyboard, and that's going to populate for you on screen. I'm going to hit Tab again and notice that I come to my DOV field. Now, as long as your dictator is really good about dictating on the same day that they see their patient, then this date should be correct 9 out of 10 times. However, if in fact you have that dictator that maybe waits a day or so before they dictate on a patient, then you may need to come in here and actually change this date, just like this. Notice how I'm just using my arrow keys to go through this and actually change the date of visit. However, you do have the ability to click the drop down to select the date from a calendar option if you wish to do that. But we do recommend that you use the keyboard as it is a much quicker method. Tab again takes me to my location field, and once again I can use my up and down arrow keys to select the location if in fact I need to select one for this account. You can also click the drop down menu to see what locations are available for this account. If in fact your account doesn't use location, just leave it at default. Attending is if the account that you type for requires an attending physician to be selected prior to sending the note on to them. In this case, I'm just going to skip over this field as it's not very commonly used. And here we have a CC Physicians field. CC Physicians work just like they do with the patient field up here, meaning I can type in the name either of the physician themselves or their practice, hold Control on my keyboard, and hit F, as in find, if you will, or Frank, and now I have a referring physician list right here in front of me. I can use my arrow keys to go down and find my referring. Maybe it's John Smith at the health clinic, and hit Enter to confirm that that is the CC physician that I want to add to this report. And as you can see, they populated down here in my CC Physicians box. However, if I cannot find the referring physician or the referring physician office, I have the ability to add them to the address book. Hitting Tab brings me over to the ... box beside the CC Physician field, just like in the patient field. If I hit Enter at this point, because notice this box is highlighted in blue, then it's going to bring up my Add CC Physician box here. Here I can put in the practice name, the location, the particular recipient, maybe it's the CC Physician, as well as the fax information and address information if needed or necessary and provided in the dictation. However, one thing to mention, if this is just a CC Physician and you do not want to add the practice, then you just simply need to type their name. Maybe this is Dr. John Smith, MD. And all we really need to add is his fax number. And there we go. Once I'm done, notice how Save is highlighted in blue down here. At this point, I can hit Enter on my keyboard, or I can just click the Save button. I'm going to hit Enter to go ahead and save that entry. And notice not only does it add it to my address book, but it also adds it to my CC Physician box down here so that I know this is going to be added to the document itself. Once I have finished out my document properties box, I've added all the information that's been provided to me at the beginning of the dictation. I'm ready to go ahead and hit Enter because OK is highlighted in blue here below. I could also click OK if I wanted to, but I'm just going to go ahead and hit Enter at this point. Notice how my template that I selected is actually populated now here behind me. And I'm going to minimize my ExpressScribe to show you this. The patient information that I filled in is now populated here in front of me, as well as the date of visit, the medical record number. The brackets that you see are actually bookmarks in Word, and that's how we're populating this data inside of the actual template. And here's just some of the basic template text that comes with this template, so here it is, as well as some additional bookmarks here below, and as you can see there are my CCs listed there that I added. If for whatever reason you need to change any of this information that is already pre-populated on this template, no problem. Just hit Control-Alt-D on the keyboard or click the Document Properties box up here. There we go. This will bring up your Document Properties box here in front of you. At this point in time, you can change the patient information. Maybe the physician at the beginning of the dictation says, oh, this is not John Smith, but in fact this is Nathan Mitchell. No problem. We can go ahead and type Mitchell in there, or if we have the medical record number, we can enter that as well. Find the correct patient we're looking for, and hit Enter. I click OK or hit Enter on my keyboard to go ahead and change that information. And notice how John Smith changed to Nathan Mitchell with the new medical record number. The same thing can go for the CC Physician. So, for example, if your dictator likes to add the CC Physicians at the end of his or her dictation versus the beginning, no problem. You can hold that Control-Alt-D on your keyboard and come here and add another CC Physician. There we go. And now I can hit OK with my mouse, or I can actually hit the Enter button, and that's going to add that CC here below in my template form. And there he is. Good deal. All right, at this point in time, I'm just tapping my foot pedal and I'm transcribing my note. Once again, I'm getting my audio right here from ExpressScribe. If you use another audio player, such as Gear Player, or whatever it may be, then you're more than welcome to use that as well. It should work with WebChart without any issue. So we're going to go ahead and type our note. Once we're done typing, and the note looks correct in its entirety, we're ready to go ahead and upload the document to the system. As you can see here, we have an Upload Document button here in our toolbar, but we can also hit Control-Alt-U to access that button. And notice when I do, my Upload Document box actually appears here in front of me. It's just letting me validate my patient information up here. It's showing me my report type. And then I have a few additional blank fields that I can note. Here's a clinic note field that's blank. Any note or text that's entered here in this clinic note will actually show up inside the WebChartMD portal. That being said, this note actually shows up to the client as well. So if there's something quite a little bit off about this note that you weren't quite sure of, then you can add that, and the office staff or the physician who reviews the note at the healthcare facility will be able to see it and then review the transcription. So maybe, doc says he, but he keeps saying she throughout dictation. All right, so maybe that's something that the physician or the office staff need to look at just to confirm the sex of the patient. ICD-9 codes is also a blank field, so you guys can use this for whatever you want it to be. However, please note that the client will see this in the portal as well. Next, we have some flag options. And by the way, I'm just using tab and then shift tab to go up and down through these fields, as you can see this. We have some flag options here, and I can use my up and down arrow keys to select those, or I can click the drop down here. And notice that it's just 4 colors, blue, green, red, and yellow. We don't distinguish what these do in the system, and all it really does is highlight the particular file as the row in the portal with this particular color. So it'll actually sort of stand out to the other user when they log into the portal. So if you guys have some particular use for these color schemas, please use them as needed. Next, we have a route to quality assurance line here. And at this point in time, if I had a few blanks in this report, or maybe I'd just like another set of eyes to read over it, to look over it, make sure it's correct, I could then click the route to quality assurance box and then click the drop down and select my editor or QA person that I need to send this to. So in this case, there's just an editor pool, so we're just going to send it for editor review, and we're going to tell them to check blanks. At this point in time, I can click the upload button, or I'm going to go ahead and hit enter on my keyboard since it's highlighted in blue, and that's going to go ahead and upload that job to QA for me. Now, notice as soon as I do that, I get a brand new file that loads right up here up top. So I've got a brand new file name with a DID number. Document properties box is here, and I've already got my audio loaded into ExpressScribe. It automatically did that for me. And I'm ready to go ahead and start typing my next job. What we just ran through is what I like to call the happy flow, if you will. And that's from the point of time when you just associate the job, you fill out the demographic information, the document properties box, type the note, and upload it. Sometimes there's a few scenarios that occur in transcription that that's not always possible. So let me sort of go through those right now. So now that we have this note, I'm tapping my foot pedal and I'm listening here. I can tell that this is a letter, so I'm going to hit L on my keyboard and it's going to open the letter template for me. I'll go ahead and hit Tab. This is Alice Smith from the dictation that I'm listening to, so I'm going to type Smith in the patient field. And there she is, right up top. So I'm going to just use my arrow key, go down 1, hit Enter, and notice how Alice Smith is already filled in here for me. At this point in time, I'm not hearing any referring physicians in the dictation, so I'm going to go ahead and hit Enter on my keyboard to go ahead and jump me right in to my template and start transcribing. Now, let's say at this point in time, instead of clicking the Minimize button to get ExpressScribe off of our screen, we accidentally hit the Close button. In that particular case, don't panic. You can always get that back by clicking the Play Dictation button up here or Control-Alt-P on the keyboard. Let me show you that now. So I'm going to hit Control-Alt-P and bam, right there I go. My audio is loaded right back into ExpressScribe for me. Okay, so I can minimize this. Now, in the scenario that we're saying we're typing along and all of a sudden we receive a urgent phone call that we need to leave immediately and we're not going to be able to finish this job. However, let's assume that this job is a 20-minute job and I've typed at least 10 minutes of it and I know that I'm not going to miss turnaround time even after I handle my emergency. In that particular case, I always tell MTs to notate the DID number here in the toolbar, and then come up here and click Hold Dictation. Now you can also use Control-Alt-H on this, but if you need to select a particular flag color for a file you want to put on hold, you'll need to click the drop down and select Hold in that particular flag color. Once again, we don't discern what you guys use these flags for in the system, so feel free to pick out what you would like the colors to mean. I'm just going to click Hold and Don't Flag. When I do that, that's going to place the job in a hold account for me, so that no other transcriptionist can pick it up. When I return from my emergency, all I need to do is contact my transcription company and ask them to go ahead and route the file back to me. Once the file is routed back, I'll be able to finish the transcription. There's no need to save your work prior. All you need to do is click the Hold Dictation or Control-Alt-H on the keyboard. Another scenario would be this. Let's say that we have just started listening to the audio file and we're getting our information here and loading it into our document properties box. And before we do any typing, let's say that we get the urgent phone call for an emergency that we're going to have to handle. Well, in that particular case, since no typing has been done to the file, and I can go ahead and feel free to give this file back to the pool or to the company so they can route it to another MT, I want to click Remove Association, or in this case, Control-Alt-R. And notice that when I hit Control-Alt-R on my keyboard, it's going to bring up a little window that says, are you sure you want to remove this association? The document will be lost. And I'm okay with that, so I'm going to go ahead and hit Enter for yes, and it's going to bring me back here to my work queue. At this point in time, I'd want to exit WebChartMD by right-clicking the lotus flower and clicking Exit, and then go and handle my emergency. When I come back, I can log back in and pick up another job. Notice how, though, the Remove Association, and by the way, what we mean by association in the WebChartMD system is just simply the link between the audio file and the Word document. So when you click Associate, it's creating a link in the system between the audio file you're transcribing and the template, the Word document that you're transcribing that audio on. So Remove Association simply means that it's going to remove the Word document and keep the audio file in the queue. Whereas Hold Dictation, it's going to hold that association together and keep them together until you finish the transcription. Okay? So those are just a few case scenarios that if something pops up, you're able to do that. One thing to mention before you use Hold Dictation or Remove Association, the rule of thumb is 20 minutes. So if you're not actually actively typing on the keyboard or clicking the mouse within a 20-minute time span, you'll be timed out of the WebChartMD application. And let me show you what I mean by that, just so that we can clearly define that rule. Because if you're asking, you probably have the question right now, what if a job is longer than 20 minutes? There'll be no way that I can complete that. Well, that's not what I mean. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I'm typing, then the 20-minute time span is actually not occurring. But the moment that I stop typing, like I am right now, then the 20-minute timer just started. And we're actually counting down on that 20 minutes. And if I go longer than 20 minutes without hitting a key on my keyboard, then I will be timed out. But for example, I just restarted my 20-minute timer because I typed more text into my WebChartMD template here. So as long as you're consistently typing on the document, you know, and not going longer than 20 minutes without hitting a key on the keyboard, then you're going to be just fine, and you won't be timed out. Okay. In addition, we've covered almost every button except for copy dictation and reject dictation. Let's talk about the reject dictation first. Reject dictation is used in a couple of different scenarios. One is, let's say that you start typing this job and the physician says, or the dictator says, forget it, I'll dictate this later. Well, in that case, you've already typed maybe a few sentences to a paragraph of dictation, And now the physician has just rejected the job and no longer wants the transcription to be returned to him or her. In that case, you'll want to select Reject Dictation. There is no keyboard shortcut for this button. You simply have to click Reject Dictation. And when you do, you'll notice that you receive a Reject Dictation box that's going to ask for a rejection reason. And maybe you can just say, Doctor canceled job, and click Reject. When you do, that sends it off to the rejected folder, and your next job in line is ready to go for you. And here it comes. Lastly, let's talk about copy dictation. Now, I said we'd talk about the file name a little later, and now that time has come. So let me briefly bring this work queue back up here for you so that we could review this right here. And by the way, if you close the work queue, Control-Alt-A or clicking Associate Dictation will actually bring your work queue back up for you. Okay, notice in the file name here below, and let's take this bottom one as it's the best example, we have J. Turner with a dash, and then what appears to be the date, which it is, 2/19/2017 with a dash, another set of numbers, and then .wave. What this means is, or how you break this file name down, the first part is the doctor or the dictator's username in WebChartMD. So J. Turner, Dr. Turner. This is the date that Dr. Turner dictated the file, on the 19th of February. This, after this dash and this set of numbers here, is actually the time in military time that the doctor dictated the file. And then, of course, .wave is the file format. It's a WAV file. But notice how there's no dashes after that. After the military timestamp, there's no dash, where these actually have a dash and a number after them. So when you make a copy, you'll have a -1 for your new audio file for your copy. And if you make another copy after that, you'll have a -2. So this right here is an original audio file because it has no dashes after that. But once this one is uploaded, if I made a copy of it, it would have a -1 after it, just like this one, and a -2, just like that if I made another copy. So for example, let me go ahead and associate this job here. I'm just going to go ahead and hit Enter since my Associate button's highlighted in blue. And it's going to go ahead and associate the job for me. I've already got my information filled in here, so I'm going to go ahead and hit Enter or click OK. And normally how it works is as you're tapping the foot pedal and listening to your audio file here in Express Scribe, Gear Player, Wave Player, whatever it may be, you're typing along, and then the dictator says, okay, next patient, or same patient, different procedure. So in that case, you want to go ahead and click the Copy Dictation button, or do Control-Alt-C on the keyboard, and that's what I just did. I hit Control-Alt-C. And when that happens, I actually get a Copy Dictation box that populates here in front of me. And notice how the number 1 is already in the number of copies field, so it's going to make 1 copy. And you can go ahead and hit Enter right now, and it's going to select the OK for you. All right. I always tell MTs to just make 1 copy of an audio file at a time. So at this point in time, we'll make a copy, and we'll type this next patient. If in fact there's another patient or another procedure on that patient after that one, just make another copy. And you'll still get these dashes in the correct way, all right, that we talked about in the file name a few moments ago. So that's not going to matter. But it's just an easy way to prevent excessive copying, and it prevents you from listening to this entire audio file to determine the amount of copies that you need, because that's a waste of time in that case. So we'll just do 1 copy at a time as we work our way through the audio file. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Enter, and notice it'll tell me that 1 copy was made successfully. I can hit Enter again or click OK, and at that point in time, I'm getting ready to see my little pop-up bubble come up that tells me I have 1 non-transcribed item available, or that just came to me. I just received that, as you see, just received. And that's my copy I just made. All right, so whenever I upload this file by doing the Control-Alt-U, and I hit enter for upload, that audio file is going to be the very next one in line for me. All right, now I had one above me, so this one actually came in wrong in this case, but regardless, this should be my copy. And wherever I was at in my audio, let's say I was 10 minutes in, I'm going to stay right there at that playback position of 10 minutes. So you don't have to worry about notating where you're at in your audio whenever you make a copy and after you upload the file. It's just going to retain that same file and keep your audio playback position. A couple little things to mention. When you're making copies, and whenever you're transcribing in WebChartMD, never ever do a save as in Word. All right. Whenever you do a file save as, this will break the association between the Word document and the audio file. All right. So if I come here and let's say I browse to my desktop because I want to save my work here, and if I try to upload this, it very well could break my association and cause the file to not upload properly for me. A couple additional things to mention about the transcription client. You'll notice here in the toolbar we have a lines and it says today, and we have a typed and edited. All of your lines are always going to be under typed. And if you click this, it's actually going to provide you your lines for a week time span, so you can see how many lines that you've typed in a week. If you click it again, it'll provide you a 2-week period. Click it once more, and it'll provide you the total amount of lines you typed for the entire month. Click again, and you're back to today. If you don't see this in your toolbar, or maybe if you're missing a few buttons, you just simply need to expand your toolbar out across your screen until you get to some of this blue space here, and that will actually show you those typed and edited lines and allow you to click through those so you can see the various time frames and the amount of lines you've actually transcribed. In ending this, the last thing you need to note is when it comes to exiting WebChartMD, you can close out of everything as far as Express Scribe, your Word, even your work queue. However, when it comes to this toolbar and you try to close it, notice how it always comes back down here to the bottom. And it'll do that each and every time to prevent you from accidentally logging yourself out of WebChart. To actually exit the WebChartMD transcribe, you simply need to come down to your WebChartMD icon in your task tray. Right-click that icon and select Exit. And this is going to go ahead and exit you from the application. Thank you.